Welcome to the 26th Annual Writers' Symposium by the Sea at Point Loma Nazarene University. I'm Dean Nelson on the journalism faculty at the university, and today we're getting into the practical work of writing poetry. You can talk about poetry and you can read poetry, but it's the writing of poetry that is so mysterious. And I think a lot of us want to know more about how to do it. So we turned to two of our faculty members, Katie Manning and Margarita Pintado. We asked them to provide a poetry workshop. Katie Manning's new collection of poems is called 28,065 Nights, and Margarita Pintado's upcoming collection is called Sobre Anima. Let's see how a poem gets made.
So hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the 26th Annual Writers' Symposium by the Sea. I'm Dr. Katie Manning, Professor of Writing, and I'm thrilled to co-host this poetry workshop today with my colleague, Dr. Margarita Pintado Burgos, Professor of Spanish and incredible poet. As a form of live captioning, I'll be posting my opening remarks and guided free writing questions in the chat as we go. So if you need or want the written text, it will be available to you right there. And I hit the wrong button. That was almost very smooth. So, one moment. Oh, it was almost so smooth. I had it all planned out. All right, here we go. So, this workshop is called Writing the Unspeakable, and we're going to illuminate some dark places and work on creating material for new poems together. We wanted this workshop to acknowledge that we've been experiencing some impossibly difficult things collectively, from the pandemic to the ongoing racism and the recent shootings in our country, in addition to the difficult things we each carry more personally and sometimes very privately. Emily Dickinson began one of her poems with the line, "Tell all the truth, but tell it slant." So we're going to take her advice today. We'll be writing the truth, but we'll be circuitous, even playful in how we write about it. Using our senses and associations can allow us to write about things that feel impossible to write in a straightforward way. When we do this, we might better communicate our experiences to others by engaging their senses. And we might also learn something new about ourselves in the process. So now I'm going to lead us through a guided free writing exercise. I'll give prompts with some silent writing time following each one. If you get to writing something interesting and want to follow that trail for a while, feel free to keep writing and ignore my other questions. So first, think of something that's hard for you to write about, but that you do in fact want to write about. This might be a fear or an insecurity, a personal or public health issue, a disappointment or recurring frustration, a larger societal problem, a past trauma, and make a quick note about what that is. I'm assuming you all brought something to write with. You're on a computer or a phone perhaps, but I hope you have some sort of writing implement. So write down what it is that you want to explore today, either reluctantly or willingly. Just make a quick note. And then once you've determined what it is that you are engaging with today, once you've labeled it for yourself, don't use that word or that phrase again in your writing. You're going to find some other language and some other imagery to use to explore what this thing is. So in the questions that follow, I will be using your struggle as a shorthand way of referring to these things that are really difficult to write about in a straightforward way, and that you're writing about now because you are brave and powerful, even if you don't feel brave and powerful quite yet. So here we go. Answer the following quickly and just keep writing. Let your mind free associate, and don't be afraid to be a little bit weird. The questions are going to be weird. I know we had a few people jump in just in the last minute. So for those of you who are just joining, just to kind of recap quickly, I wanted to not leave anybody behind. And some of you might still be thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to write about? So we'll just take a pause for a moment. What we've done so far is we're choosing something that is difficult for us to write about. It might be a personal thing that we struggle with. I mentioned, things like chronic pain are things that I've written about myself, or mental health issues, or it might be things that are more public and collective sorts of struggles, things like racism and violence in our country, or the pandemic that we're currently experiencing, right? So you can choose one of those things that is really hard to write about. It might be something that you've wanted to write about, but it felt like you don't have the words yet. So we're choosing something that is hard to write about, but that you do want to write about. And then we're going to work with that together. So hopefully that's given us a moment for those of us who are maybe deer in the headlights. You've found the thing that you want to write about, or that you're at least going to attempt to write about today. And for those of you who just joined us, hopefully that gives you a moment to at least catch up a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions. Like I said, don't be afraid to be weird. You're not going to be too weird for poetry. And the hope is that we will generate some material that might be useful to pull out and craft into poems later. So my first question for you, and I'll drop each of these into the chat also in case it's helpful for you to see them in writing. What colors can you associate with your struggle? What colors can you associate with your struggle? If your struggle were a location, desert, mountain, beach, tundra, some other location, what would it be? And what is the temperature? If your struggle were a location, desert, mountain, beach, tundra, etc., what would it be? And what is the temperature? What smells can you associate with the struggle that you've chosen? What smells can you associate with the struggle that you've chosen? And related but slightly different, if you could taste this struggle, what would it taste like? If you could taste this struggle, what would it taste like? If you could touch your struggle, what would its textures be? If you could touch your struggle, what would its textures be? What sounds can you associate with your struggle, and what is the volume of that struggle? What sounds can you associate with your struggle, and what is the volume of that struggle? What is the most annoying thing people say about your struggle, or what do people most frequently ask you about it? What is the most annoying thing people say about your struggle, or what do people most frequently ask you about it? All right, I've got two more questions, and I see that Jim is adding questions in the chat. He's asking about if it were an animal or if it were a tree. I like those. That's a little bit related perhaps to my next question, which is write down a character, fictional or historical, who might experience your struggle or who you relate to strongly. Write down a character, fictional or historical, who might experience your struggle or whom you relate to strongly. And then my final question for this part of the exercise. If you were going to create a playlist for your struggle that you've chosen, name one song you'd choose. If you were going to create a playlist for your struggle, name one song you'd choose. I have one comment in the chat that the coming up with the song is hard. I think that's the one that I actually have the easiest time with. I have a song for every occasion, I've been told. I struggle with some of the others a lot though. So go ahead and wind down and come to a pausing place. Oh, Ellen, I'm curious now. She's making herself laugh with the song that's popped into her head. Maybe she'll share. So this is the next thing. We'd love to take a few minutes. And if you're willing to share, it would be wonderful to hear or see a few lines that you generated. And you don't have to tell us what you're writing about. But I'd love to hear, what details did you stumble upon that surprised you? And what might be useful to pull out of this free writing exercise when you craft a poem later? So would anybody be willing to unmute and share, or to maybe drop a few words or an image into the chat for us? And I can't see all of you at once, so you're welcome to just unmute and shout it out. Or I can see one person's hand. Oops. Let's see, I'm asking, is it Asunta? I'm doing the ask to unmute. Is it not letting you unmute?
Maybe she needs to know how to unmute. The
Let's see, I was double checking. I do have it set to allow participants to unmute themselves. So it should be okay to do that on your side. And I'm clicking on ask to unmute. So can you click on the little red microphone on your side, or is it not letting you? I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, it must just be getting stuck. Sorry about that. Yeah, if you want to drop yours in the chat. I see several people have dropped lines in the chat. Thank you. Struggle feels like grease.
Got it.
Oh, thank you. Yay, you got it.
For sounds and volume, I felt the most significant question, and I wrote, the sounds vary from weak cries to very loud shouts that echo into nothingness.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We've got more in the chat. Micah's character is Emmett from the Lego movie. I know Micah, so that does not surprise me, knowing what I know of Micah and his love for the Lego movie. What I hate is that I am reminded, you made the bed, now you gotta sleep in it. I like that. Very good. Touch is slippery and gooey like seaweed. Touching it would be like grasping at the cold air left behind after a cold gust of wind. Nice. It smells sickly sweet, covering up sharp medical alcohol. Soft and sticky, clings like itching, and though I scrub it, it won't come off. It's quiet at first, like a ringing in your ears, then too loud, like a tornado siren. Bruised blue, sounds like wobbly melody, an inch away from being off key. Nice. I love this. There's so much going on. So much fodder here to be used for poems in the future. This is wonderful. It's like sand. Every time you think you've got it all, you find more hiding in your shoes. I like that a lot. I took a quick walk on the beach this morning, and I think I still have sand between my toes, even though I washed my feet. My heart pounding in my ears, deafeningly loud to me, but silent to everyone else. Excellent. So I had one person tell me that I am on mute, but I do not appear to be muted. So that might be a sound issue on your side. Hopefully you got that taken care of. yellow of caution, purple swirls of confusion. These are wonderful. I'm not going to be able to read them all out, but this is really wonderful. I'm scrolling through. Hopefully everyone is also looking at these. These are fantastic. So thank you to everyone who shared. You're welcome to keep sharing. I love this. We're going to kind of turn now on some poems. So I'm going to share one of my poems now that I crafted in a similar way, and that I crafted in response to being asked why I was depressed. And I used landscapes and language and allusions to familiar stories and other sensory associations to describe something that felt really impossible to explain. So my poem is called "Why Are You Depressed?" He asks. And I'll go ahead and read it, and then I'll drop it into the chat so you can see it there as well. Why are you depressed? He asks. There's never just one answer. Everything pushes down at once, like my body leaves a canyon in the bed, deeper each night. I will never know Chinese, just the charred bones of dismembered language, unremembered. My face will never cause whole nations to fall in love or in war. My words turn no men to swine. Sometimes I'm content. Sometimes I wish some god would turn my flesh to tree, bark thighs firm, bird song in my hair. So now I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Pintado for the second half of our workshop.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Katie. That was wonderful. I'm going to not change the tone, but kind of what we're doing a little bit. I want to talk to you a little bit about mood, about how to create a mood. And I'm going to read you two very short poems from my second book. These poems are, well, let me get ready for this. So the unspeakable, that which is difficult to articulate, comes in many forms. And it is important to be open to the possibility of writing about difficult, sad, traumatic things with humor, with silliness, and with hope. These poems, which are very short, are not about a single event. They are about my time in Arkansas, where I was living in a small town called Arkadelphia. And things were very different when in that town, different from every other place I lived before. And it took me a while. It took me to get out of that place to sort of identify the sort of sadness that was kind of taking hold of me. And it was due to my surroundings, it was an economically very depressed town. The infrastructure was in ruins. It was very racially divided. I was feeling isolated, far from family. So these poems are not about something specific, but about that sort of big feeling of depression. I'm gonna start with a poem called Walmart. In a place like Arkansas, life happens in gas stations and Walmarts, a big chunk of life, part of life. Walmart. I stopped to contemplate some white tulips toasted by the neon lights. A woman looked at me askance from her motorized cart. Extravagant things happen in Walmart, like when a young woman with an expression of astonishment and sadness stops to look at the tulips, frightened, next to the bread. He looks at me with love. He calls me and I go. I always go. The flowers stay behind. The lady in the cart fills it with things. The cashiers are allowed to hate with so much sweetness, with so much kindness. And that's Walmart. Now, I'm going to read another short poem and then I'll talk about the mood. This poem, it's called Still Life. And if you think this poem is funny, you are right. If you think this poem is very serious and sad and depressing, you are right. If you think this poem is bad or ineffective, you are absolutely wrong. Still life. The fruit that is in the basket where the fruit has always been has these days unleashed a great sadness. The reason is not known for this kind of suffering that perhaps is linked to some discomfort of the soul. There are, of course, moments more difficult than others. Especially in the afternoon, the fruit seems to want to leave, as if it were bored of us, or as if it wanted to cry, this ungrateful fruit. There's also the light, which, depending on the hour, augments this feeling partly of terror, partly of tears, partly of compassion. These three occur at distinct stages of the day and of consciousness that surrounds the fruit. We have not spoken, he and I, about the situation with the fruit, of the sadness that the fruit has unleashed, but I know that he also feels it. It is increasingly difficult, for example, to go to the supermarket, to contemplate the fruit with a perplexed face, to feel it in our hands, angry and melancholic, to return to the house loaded with fruit, as if we were planning a revenge or a torture against us or against the fruit. It's all the same. We'll get over it, I say. We'll be okay with the fruit again, he thinks. I have already begun to lose my faith in this daily battle between the violence of our calm and the sadness that has taken hold of the fruit. The end of that poem. So how to create a mood? Well, let's talk about tone a little bit. These are very personal poems, but they don't seem to be so much about the person who is behind the poems. There is almost an impersonal tone. There is the mention of feelings, but in a very matter-of-fact attitude about them. The speaker is not trying to change anything, it's just giving an account of how things are or seem to be. But they are not entirely impersonal, of course, and there are small ways to break that matter-of-fact attitude, like when in the first poem, he looks at me with love, and there's a person that enters, right, who is my husband. And he looks at me with love. And I was looking at the tulips with love and compassion, the same way I am looking at the fruit in the next poem. An effective way to contribute to the mood and the tone, the atmosphere of your poem, it's sticking to one thing, in the fruit in this case, and try to see your whole universe through the eyes of the fruit. So repetition works great, not only repeating the same word, although I repeated the word fruit 11 times in that short poem, but expanding, deepening the idea of what the fruit represents. In both poems, I'm identifying with things, not people, but I am doing it in order to reflect on human nature. First, the tulips that are afraid next to the bread under a neon light, like me, displaced, removed from my natural place. But the tulips are not alone, they have me. I'm there to love them for a minute. And I also have someone who calls me and who loves me, and who comes to the rescue. And towards the end of the poem, there is the cashier, who is another creature dealing with negative feelings being witnessed by me. The truth is that I was depressed in Arkansas, and this whole book is testimony to that. And it sort of took me a while to realize it. I was dealing with feelings of isolation, melancholia, also becoming an adult officially, having a real job. For me, the real challenge has always been to write openly and honestly about anything, let's say sadness, without entirely identifying with the feeling of sadness, because the goal is to transcend that feeling, to get to the truth. So in other words, the challenge is to write about sadness, about depression, but not writing a depressive poem. At least that has been for me a goal. So I believe what I'm pointing at is the importance of transcending oneself for the sake of art and ultimately for the sake of oneself. In order to write about anything, the unspeakable or anything, you have to start, I think it helps to make associations, right? Free associations. So I want you to do this exercise with me. It's kind of similar to Katie's, but not entirely. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you 10 words. And what I want you to do, it's to write one sentence. I'm not even calling it a verse. I don't want you to be thinking like you're writing a poem. I just want you to write a sentence about this word, the first thing that comes to your mind. You don't have to write the word, but you can if that works for you. And we're gonna do this kind of a little fast, just like Katie did. I'm giving you the word, you write the sentence, and then I'm gonna give you the next one, okay? And then at the end, what I want you to do is look at those 10 sentences and find an order. So you can change the order till you find like, this is how I want my poem. And if you want to change little things of your sentences, do it, right? But at the end, first, just write. It's also to know how much of writing, it's editing, not writing. Okay, so first word, country. I'll write them in the chat because I have an accent, people say, and maybe, oh, why can't I write in the chat? Maybe Katie can write the words in the chat for me. So the first was country. Second one, mind. The third, father. Four, mirror. Let me see what Katie said. Oh, it was father. That, so the first, it's country, mind, father, and mirror. Okay, so now we go to number 5, tomorrow. Number 6, it's animal. Number 7, it's home. Number 8, it's ocean. Number 9 is root, R-O-O-T. And number 10, and last one, it's fire. And you can take a little time to finish it up. And well, just if anyone is ready and wants to share, I would love to have the 10 sentences. I know that's a lot, but I would love to see if anyone who's very happy with, or I don't know, if you got an interesting poem. Cool. People started sharing their sentences. Nice. But yeah, if anyone wants to share the whole thing, that would be great. If not, of course, not everybody's going to do that, but why not? If anyone wants to share the entirety of what you got, feel free to do it. Oh, great. Asunta, you're so participative. I love it. Go for it.
Does it have to make sense?
Of course not. Let me tell you that it will. That's beyond you, but it doesn't have to.
I have not changed the order.
Okay.
I will just read them as is.
Great.
My country, 'tis of thee, a liberty of God. My mind must be changed to improve my eternity. Father God, my hope is in you. The mirror reflects my mother. I am in shock. Tomorrow the sun will rise again, I am certain. Oh, to be an animal free of all this. My home is not here or now. The ocean tells me my true small size. My root is in Jerusalem. There is a fire in my soul that burns for the promised heaven.
Amen. That's like a prayer. I love it. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Maybe yours does not sound like a prayer. That's fine. We like variety, so. We have something very cool and interesting in the chat from Emma McCoy. I am the queen of my own little country, yet somehow still a foreigner. There are no animals in my country, no people, just me learning how to build a home. Grief crashes like an ocean, flattening everything and drawing back until there's nothing left. Perhaps tomorrow will be different. I am rooted in the earth, but I am yearned to be swept away. Stunning. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Margarita, I'll read mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's just a totally rough draft. My country, a wandering, looking for lost people. Home, I had them once. Is it my mind that's lost, or do I just terribly mind losing what I love? Father, mother, I'm always grasping for the love of the women in my life, their truth and terror. If I could look at my heart as if it were a mirror, maybe I could heal it, or at least glue it back together. Tomorrow is a wasteland of more loss and attendant grief intertwining like devil's snare with now grief. Animal screams is the only sensible language. Song. Where is the rest of home? Grief is an apathetic ocean, torrents of water. I'm tossed and rooted to the pain of love all the same. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. I say in grief erased.
Give me the chills. Thank you so much, Bettina. I love what you did with the order. You did break the order, right? Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
the order it came out in, but I'm not sure it'll stay there.
Okay. Well, it works. It works for me. Thank you so much. We have another one from Jessie Taylor. I'll read it quickly, and if anyone gets the courage to read it instead of write it, that's great. I live in a broken country of broken people and hate. The mind that resides within me is kind to everyone but myself. My father and I always play Jeopardy on Tuesday nights. I know I will cry the night he isn't there to play with me anymore. I see myself in its warped. In it, I am fat and deformed. Perhaps tomorrow will bring some good, but I am not known for my positivity. The animal in me is cruel and has rotting flesh in its teeth. The home I want to reside, it is not real. I would have to cross the ocean to reach a place of okayness. The bad thoughts root themselves and grow in my body. I am engulfed by my cruelty. The wildfire of my sketching words consumes my mind, and there is no more air. I have no more words. Thank you. Yeah, anger. I like it. I welcome it.
I can share.
Thank you.
I might not make sense, but you know. I live in a country that is supposed to be liberating, but is confusing. I don't mind being patted on the head, and then I wonder what's wrong with me. I'm tired of the same old trope and yawn at the plot twist of bad fathers. I'm thinking I should get a full-length mirror. I've forgotten what it's like to can't wait for an outing tomorrow. Sometimes I want to be an animal, allowed to act feral and generously held close, touched, protected, without worry. I wonder over time how the objects in our home will change, rearrange, make room for other new objects from the market. I haven't seen the ocean in almost a year. I get some pleasure from pulling anxious white hairs out at the root. I teach myself pyrography, but am still bad with fire.
Awesome. Thank you. I love the energy of that poem, and also the kind of the hint of anger, but also the sort of calmness and, I don't know, very grounded on earth. Thank you very much, Ellen. Thanks, Bettina, for sharing yours on the chat. We have more time. So if anyone else wants to share, I can read it in the chat, or you can read it yourself. Oh, I have one here. by Yolanda. Is anyone trying to speak? Okay, I'll read this one. Nostalgic feel over time, I think in my country, memories of most beautiful come to my mind, especially from my father, the man that I love the most after God. I see myself in the mirror and discover my mother in my image. When she left, I knew it was no tomorrow for us. Sometimes I would love to be a hummingbird and fly over the flowers that remind me my home, where I enjoy my children, and that ocean that remind my roots, the incredible breeze that touched my face, that place that my family and I would share together, where fire warm our bodies, but not as the love we feel. Whew. Powerful. Thank you. Anyone else who wants to read alive?
I'll read mine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's okay. I'm amazed the country still stands. Whose father left our home like this? People tell me there will come a better tomorrow. My mind is a ball of confusion unwinding. The mirror transcends the fragmented self. Who is looking into the windows of our home? Strange animals lurk in the dark of the woods. What ocean can sweep away the debris? We have to root out the ugliness sown in the dirt. A fire burns wild through the sediment of time.
Great. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
I could do mine, Margarita.
Thank you.
I'll put it in the chat too. Well, maybe not. All right. Once in Ireland, I missed you by the sea. How much damage can happen in 13 years? I think of you partitioned, the man who wiped snot from under my nose. My ex and I drove to the hotel warehouse to buy a secondhand mirror. In the morning, I will walk in the rain to my therapist. The old dog barks when I hit the plate with my fork. I have begun to reclaim my ragged space. From the library in St. Andrews, I used to watch the sea. All my carrots grow in thready strands. My stepfather threw his laptop into the fire.
I mean, wow and great. Those were said while on mute. I love that poem. It's fast. It has a really good cadence and rhythm. See, I love how free association works. I wasn't expecting carrots, and it just kind of, I love it. It surprised me, and it just fits because what's absurd, it fits into our lives, right? And into our poems in a wonderful way to reveal things that remain hidden. Thank you. That was wonderful. And thanks for sharing it in the chat. Anybody else? It's 5:21. We have till 5:30. Katie, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Great. So we still have a few minutes.
I'll share.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. I live in a country that is free. Don't pay any mind to what I'm saying. You are the inspiration. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not reading my first one. So I'm sorry. I live in a country that is free. Don't pay any mind to what I'm saying. You are the inspiration for my letting that muse come loose. Mirror, mirror on the wall, what do you see? I will be focused and clear and show love to people tomorrow. You sound like some sort of guttural animal. Take me home today, not tomorrow. I hear the seagulls singing above the ocean. Find the largest root to that tree and savor it. Burn, baby, burn as you light my fire.
Great ending for that poem. Thank you, Jennifer.
I can share as well. These lines don't connect, but I like them individually, so I guess I'll just read all of them.
Great.
Country is not something I associate with. I dig into mind, but when mind digs into mind, I love getting lost. Father hurts, hugs, groans, screams, silences, kills. I avoid mirrors is what I want you to believe. I hope there's a tomorrow where I don't start every sentence with I. Tell me we haven't become animals. Wrap home in a blanket and drape it over me so I may suffocate. I want to be like the ocean, going on forever and never giving answers. Root me anywhere I can survive. You were meant to gaze upon fire again, again, again.
Bravo. Awesome. That's great. I love the language you use. I love the words you chose for the first few. Very effective. Thank you. See, it takes like a minute for a person to read, so 7 more people can read.
I could go ahead and go, Margarita, if any of this makes sense there. Do I need to read the word before each verse, or just read the?
Let us guess. That's okay. What I'm enjoying also. I'm guessing.
Okay. 99.9% of the mind is memory. What is the root of sorrow? The father is dead, was dead, has been dead, and will be dead. Is home lost, or is home recreated through the people you were with? The dog was a being quite apart from what humans thought. Country is a place I no longer know. The mirror does not reflect all of reality. The ocean reflects the infinity of the divine. Burn away the dross, O Lord.
Thank you, Garo. I'm going to tell you what struck me right away from that, from your poem. It's the way you sort of build silence around your verses. There's, I don't know.
It seemed very random and anyway, yeah. Thank you.
No. Thank you so much. There's a heaviness, right, that comes with that silence and solemnity and detail, right? 99% or 99.9%. Those details help a lot, right, to get your attention and get in the mood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't want to pressure anyone. It's 5:26. So if you're like, should I or should I not? You should. Oh, there's a lot more in the chat. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat for a while.
I don't feel like mine correlate, but I can read them.
Please don't correlate. Yes.
I am a country unto myself. How many states exist in me? When will I trust? Bleach shirts and ivory soap, that stench. When the reflection is so murky, how do I know what I'm looking at? Must we wake up tomorrow and do it again? When will the soft-bellied animal be at home in myself? To feel swallowed up with my roots, am I permitted? The fire of resilience, the pilot light is still on.
I think it correlates, and I think people loved your poem because I was looking at the people around you. So thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing. That's very, very good.
I can read mine.
Great, thank you, Maida.
I'm not done, but it's just the beginning. It's kind of long though, so yeah. I wasn't supposed to be born in this country. My parents were undocumented immigrants. They fled poverty, pain, and came to the US in search for a better place to raise their spawn. My father loves to work. His work is his identity. COVID forced his company to furlough him, but he found full-time work under the table. He should retire, but doesn't want to. He says he's as strong as a tiger. Ironically, he works for me now. The contractor I hired employed him. Sometimes it's too much to see my own father, an elderly man, using a jackhammer to break apart the concrete in our backyard. He works tirelessly, carrying heavy loads of brick as if he were a young man. My mind sometimes plays tricks. I can't remember important details. Sometimes I wish I could, and other times I know it's God who knows I can't handle all my memories. My parents are proud of me. Sometimes I can't see myself in the mirror. Sometimes I love myself and I am proud too. I have a garden, so that in itself is hopeful. Sometimes the squirrels steal my hope. Why do they uproot my sprouts? Sometimes rabbits devour my lettuce, and other times I beat them to it. I'm thankful for COVID. It forced us to stay home. This home is our haven.
We are all gonna cry. Thank you. Thank you, Maida. That was very powerful and very moving. I love how you cling. I mean, the only thing I heard was father, father, father. And I know that was only one of the 10 words, but I love how you sort of you anchor your poem and everything else sort of revolve around the figure of the father. Thank you. Again, and the rabbits and the squirrels and all that stuff, which it's part of our life, right? It conforms our life, but we don't always pay attention to that. Thank you. We have one more minute. If anyone wants to, no pressure. It's gonna be the last poem we're gonna read.
I see that a few people have started ducking out, so I think that, that we might need to call it. But Maida, that was a wonderful one to go out on. Thank you so much. That was really gorgeous. I do want to say thank you to all of you for writing with us today, and we hope you'll continue working on what you started here, and that you might even use these prompts and tools in the future to write about more things that are difficult and that need to be shared. Please join us again tonight for our interview with Dean Nelson, which will be available on the website at 7 o'clock. And you can catch all of this week's Writers Symposium events at the link that I just posted in the chat as well. And if you miss it at the time, if you're not available at 7 o'clock tonight, or if you missed yesterday's events, they will still be available on the website. So you can enjoy them anytime in the next several days, or I'm not even sure how long they'll be up. But thank you to Dean Nelson for starting this event 26 years ago. And thank you to the Department of Literature, Journalism, Writing, and Languages for hosting this. We're glad that we could do this today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just a little heads up about next year's Writers Symposium 2022. David Brooks from the New York Times, Cornell West from Harvard University, Nadia Boltz-Weber from Denver, Colorado. They'll all be here. They'll be in person. I hope to see you there. Go online, pointloma.edu/writers for more information.